Welcome to the Meant to Be Outdoors podcast, where our goal is to connect listeners to the great outdoors with hosts Brian Hoffmeyer and Ben Brandell.
I'm host Ben Brandell, owner of Meant to Be Outdoors, instructor of outdoor skills, and passionate about personal growth.
I'm host Brian Hoffmeyer, wildlife biologist and avid outdoorsman. Welcome back to the Meant to Be Outdoors podcast. It is time for another Myth Monday episode. This one has been eating at me since I was 7 years old. I cannot wait to set this one straight. In some ways, I can't believe that we actually are having to do this, but hey, you don't know what you don't know, so we're going to address the topic today, which is, can turkeys fly? Can they fly? We're going to dive into that. Before we do that, let's give some thanks, Ben.
You know, Brian, today I am thankful for health. I take for granted how when everything's going good, feeling good, my body's working like it should. I take that for granted. My son's been sick, and just seeing him being sick breaks my heart. You know, there's not a whole lot I can do for him. And so when we're all feeling good, doing good, I'm thankful for that, and I can't wait for us to all be healthy again.
Yeah, being healthy feels good, but what's kind of crazy is when you sit down and honestly look at the number of days when you're truly like nothing hurts,
right.
No sniffly nose, no stomach ache. Those days are actually kind of few and far between. So yeah, cherish those. If you're feeling good today, cherish that, and do everything you can to stay that way.
For it. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I'm thankful for the fall colors. We've been in the drought, and we finally had some rain, which is a huge blessing. Wasn't quite sure what the fall colors were going to bring. They are really beautiful right now. As we sit here and look out the window recording this podcast, I see pretty much every fall color, different hues of red and yellow, orange. You got the conifers mixed in with the green. It is really beautiful out there, and I'm just thankful to live in a temperate climate and to be here to take that all in.
Yeah, they talked about it not being beautiful this year because of the lack of rain, but I'm going to tell you, the colorations have been awesome.
Well, I don't know who they is, but they don't know.
They don't know squat.
Speaking of they don't know, let's talk about, can wild turkeys fly? You know, when I was 7 years old, I was in the first grade, we had just moved. In my early years of my life, my family owned a cattle farm. We lived way out, a long ways from a Walmart, and there was deer and turkey everywhere. Wildlife everywhere. We had a lot, even more turkeys back then in that area than there is now. And so it was just I was so used to seeing them fly across the road. We spent a lot of time on the river because our property butted up to the river, and they would routinely fly over our heads to cross the river. As we drove into the pasture to check the cows, they'd fly away. So when I was in first grade, we had just moved back to St. Louis from the Ozarks. My dad was running a business there, and we had to go back, be close to that business. And my teacher taught the entire class that turkeys don't fly. And I said, no, I've seen them. Yeah, they do. No. You must have seen something different. They don't fly. And I left so angry because it wasn't like, oh, you know what? You're right. My bad. They do. It was this adamancy of, no, they don't fly. And I couldn't believe it because I'd seen them fly so many times. How could this person that's supposed to be teaching these children not know? But you don't know what you don't know. If you've never seen one, if you've lived in the city your whole life, you may not know that. And honestly, that's okay. But we're here to set it straight today. Wild turkeys can fly. Some of that misconception may come in because of domesticated turkeys, because they get so large, they can't even fly or breed or do any of those things. So most of your pure white domesticated turkeys that you see, they can't fly. Maybe when they're young, but once they get to a certain size, they can't. But your wild turkeys, they can fly.
They can. I'm glad that we're sharing this with everyone, because you were just saying a teacher from the city, but I've experienced it even from people that live in the country, people that live out where they can see turkeys, what they can or cannot do. Some of them have actually shared that they don't fly.
Maybe I was being gracious.
You were, because it ain't just the city folk. You know, I've got a lot of stories of seeing turkeys fly. One that people probably do experience is driving down the highway. Mm-hmm. I mean, if of a morning you can watch them fly from the bluffs over the road from bluff to bluff. I mean, they're flying all the time. You're going to get in and talk more about this, but where do turkeys sleep?
Right.
And knowing where they sleep, how do they get there if they can't fly? So, yes, I'm glad we are. I'm sharing about the wild turkey today.
Let's hit a little bit on some of the flying specifics about a wild turkey, because now that if this is the first time you're hearing that they can fly, or maybe you know they fly, you may be starting to wonder, well, can they fly to Mexico? Are they going to migrate? Can they fly from one county to the next? Well, they can if they're on the county line. They can't fly very far.
Right.
They can fly about as far as you can see generally. If you're going to Google this, you're going to find that they can fly 100 yards. Well, I'm going to tell you that's not true, because I've seen multiple times, many, many, many times, them fly more than 100 yards, and we got a good story to support that. But they're going to fly 50 to 60 miles per hour, so pretty fast for a big 20-pound bird, and they can fly 400 meters high, which is a quarter mile.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I'm qualifying that as they can fly. If you can go a quarter mile high and fly several hundred yards, you can fly, because I know I can't do that.
Well, let's actually relate it to humans. It would be like saying humans can't run, because
Right.
when you look outside, you're not seeing people just running everywhere. There are people that can run really far. Mm-hmm. There's people like me where I can run, but I'm not running very far. Yeah. So turkeys can fly. It does depend on size, age, all of those things, but they can fly, and they can fly pretty far.
Right, and they're actually very agile. And when you study birds from a biologist perspective, if you look at the wing shape, you don't even really have to know anything about that particular bird species. If you look at the shape of the wing, you know some of that bird's ecological habits. If they have long, slender wings, they're going to be very fast, long-distance flyers. If they've got short, broad wings, like a lot of your little ground-feeding birds around your bird feeder, they've got short, broad, wide wings. And the purpose of that is if a predator comes, they've got big, powerful bursts to get up. Now, they're not going to be really fast flyers, and they're not going to be very agile flyers, so they're built for that exact purpose. If you look at a falcon, they've got these long, looks like jet airplane wings, slender and sleek, and they are so fast, hundreds of miles an hour, and agile. So they do have very specific wings. If you look at a turkey, compared to its size, they have big, broad wings. So the purpose of their wings is really to escape predators and to navigate landscapes. Obviously, I mentioned going across a river. If they couldn't fly, how would a turkey ever cross?
Right. Right.
They're only going to cross rivers that they can walk across that are 6 inches deep? No.
Well, can they swim?
I've never seen a turkey swim, because why would you if you can fly?
Good one. I like it.
Yes. So they've got these big, broad, powerful wings, huge chest muscles, which is everybody's favorite part to eat at Thanksgiving, the breast muscles on the turkey. That's what allows them to fly, those muscles really pulling down, kind of like our pectoral muscles. So not super fast flyers, but they can get off the ground really well and really fast to escape predators. And they're pretty agile. If you ever watched, and I've watched many times, turkeys pitch off of the roost where they've been sleeping, man, they can really weave between those trees and those branches and get down to where they're wanting to go.
So what do you mean they're in the roost?
So the roost is where they sleep. Turkeys do not sleep on the ground, and I'm going to make that clear because that came up very recently, and it was from an adult. And they're not stupid. They didn't know. Turkeys don't sleep on the ground. They leave the ground and fly up to a roost, usually, pretty good distance from the ground, and that's to keep them safe. They go up there and they can sleep at night away from predators and not having coyotes pounce on them or anything like that. And they usually do that in groups. They'll do that in their groups, their flock. They'll fly up together, and that's a good way. Hunters like to know where they roost so that the next morning they can be in the general area of where they're going to fly down. It's illegal to shoot them off the roost or even shoot them while they're flying down, but you try to get close enough that you can be in a position to call them or intercept them when they come down.
You talked about predators. What are some predators of the turkey?
Yeah. That list is actually pretty long because they are so susceptible, particularly their nests. But you've got coyotes, bobcats. When you start talking about nests, you've got raccoons, possums, skunks. They're going to eat all their eggs. Opossums, excuse me. And us, of course, too.
Right. Yeah. Now, I've heard of the 5 subspecies, right? So correct me if I'm wrong in how I pronounce these.
Yep.
But
These are your 5 species of wild turkey in North America.
in North America, right? Because when we talk about predators, there could be more predators than what we even discussed there because of how many there are within North America. So you have the eastern,
Which is your most predominant.
right, and then you have the Merriam. You have the Rio Grande,
Correct.
which some people might call it Grande.
Only if you like Starbucks or Taco Bell.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct. So you have the Rio Grande, you have the Osceola.
Osceola.
Well, I like the cheese. You see, so cheese and wild turkey breast is amazing. Is it Gould?
Yeah.
Okay.
Gould or Gold. Some people call it Gold.
Gold,
but
yeah,
There's a U in there. Goulds. Yep.
Now those are the ones I know.
Yeah. Those are the 5 we have here in North America. The Osceola is very specific to like Central Florida. That's the only place you're going to go get that. Eastern, pretty much the Ozarks, where we're at here, a little bit into Oklahoma, the Ozarks of Oklahoma and Arkansas, all the way east, all the way to the coast. And every state in the eastern part of the United States is going to have the eastern wild turkey. The Rio, that's going to kind of be your plains region, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas. They have transplanted some out to California, and there's some breeding populations going to California right now of the Rio Grande. Then you have your Merriam, which is kind of really sporadic throughout the western half of the United States. Little pockets of it here and there. Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, Nebraska, again transplanted out to California with the Merriam. And some of these species will actually hybridize.
Right.
And then you get some pretty crazy looking things.
And that happens here where we live. Up north, I mean.
Yeah,
more of us.
Yeah, a little bit. But when you really get into like Nebraska and Kansas and those areas that overlap several of these species, you get some hybridization of these turkeys. And lastly, we have the Goulds, which if there's one people don't hear about, it's that one, and that's because most of its standing populations, its good populations, are in Mexico. Some of them will trickle, into Arizona and New Mexico, and these are actually the largest of these birds. They're going to be around 30 pounds, where everything else is going to be that kind of 20 to 25 pound range. But those are our 5 subspecies of the wild turkey here in North America. Now, Ben, I mentioned earlier that if you Google how far a turkey can fly, they say 100 yards. Well, I have to call full bologna on this one. I have several instances where I've seen them fly much further than that, but one particular comes to mind, and I don't know. We're far enough into this podcast now. We're enough episodes in. I don't know all the stories we've told, and we've told this story over the last 10 or 15 years so many times on and off the podcast, but it needs to be told here again. If we've already told it, I have no idea, but it's going to get told again here today.
Yeah.
And this has to do with, is it the double miss or triple miss day?
I think we've told this story the same to everybody, I hope, right? I hope we haven't. I just want to put a disclaimer out that there are a lot of mistakes made in this story during this hunt by me. But yeah, I think 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's tell the story because people will need to hear this one. The day started off, me and Ben and our good buddy AJ. We all 3 went out turkey hunting together, and we hadn't seen each other for a while. So this was a day we're gonna hang out together and kind of just whoever's up first, calling a bird. Well, it happened really fast that morning. We got AJ a nice bird, and we were done. So Ben, you and I were up. It got really slow. It got windy. It's kind of sunny and windy day, and if you're a turkey hunter, you know a lot of times if you've got some big open areas where these turkeys can get out of the timber, they're going to get out where they can use their sight as their defense and not so much their hearing. So we were kind of resting on that, so we set up on the edge of the timber overlooking this huge field. I think you and I fell asleep, and AJ, he kind of wakes us up and he says, "Hey, there's turkeys out there in the field just down below that dip." And we're like, "Whatever." He's like, "No, I promise you." We're like, "All right, let's get over there." And we go to stand up, and he's like, "No, we can't walk. They're right there." So we, the 3 of us on a cattle trail through this pasture, are belly crawling in line. I wish we'd have been videoing this. We're belly crawling across this field, and we get to this little persimmon patch out in the middle of this pasture, and we all set up there. And AJ stands up real slow, and he's like, they're right there. So they were like 50 yards away, but the field had just enough dip in it. We were on top of the dip. They were below. We couldn't quite see them, but they were still coming our way, feeding our way.
Now, from my perspective, I haven't seen them at all. Okay, so
Neither of us had seen them yet.
Right, I hadn't seen them, so here I am, army crawling across. It felt like miles and miles.
I know AJJ's been known to play a joke or two.
Yes, and he has. He's pulled some legs. So here we are, and he's still telling me, yeah, they're over there. So just blind trust, man. Blind trust. I'm following suit. So what happens next?
Well, we made a plan that if they come up over this, we're going to count to 3, and you and I are going to shoot, and we're going to be done. We're going to
double up.
Go put the boat in the water, and we're going to go fishing.
Right.
Well, that plan happened just like we laid it out. They popped up over that hill. I'm going to say 40 yards. They were right there. 1, 2, 3. We both shoot. My turkey drops. Yours doesn't. It jumps up in the air. I think you shoot again.
Yeah. I went kaboom again while it's flying. Yeah.
And we're kind of all looking around like, that was perfect what happened.
I know. I was just devastated.
You were mad?
Devastated that, I mean, I have killed so many turkeys, especially with this gun. I have. I was just so, I was ready to go fish.
Yeah. He was done. And so we did. We actually, in Missouri, you can only hunt till 1 o'clock.
Right.
And this, I want to say, was probably around, by the time we got my bird and got back to the truck, so now we had 2 birds in the truck. You were done. You were so mad you were done. I want to say it was about noon.
Because it was so perfect, guys. I mean, when he says 1, 2, 3, boom, it was that easy.
Yeah, it was like he set 2 decoys out there. And
yeah, it was just too perfect. Too perfect.
It didn't happen, and that's okay, because we got a story to tell about it, right?
Right.
But we got back to the truck. It was about noon, and you were mad and disgusted. We're unloading the guns, putting the guns back in the cases. We're like, let's just go get food. Let's go fish. You're ready to put the boat in. We're going to the lake. As I shut the back truck door, at the time I had a pickup truck that had the back doors open the opposite way of the front doors, and I shut that back one. You got to shut them pretty hard. I heard that gobble, but it was really windy.
Yeah,
so it was kind of like,
I didn't hear it.
You didn't hear it. AJ didn't hear it. And I said, did you guys hear that? And you're like, no. I was like, no, right back here in this pasture, I was like, I heard a gobble. Both of you guys, whatever.
No, I was like, I'm done.
I said, I promise. Are you in? And you're like, no, I'm not in. And then you finally said, if you promise that you're not joking, you heard a gobble back there, I'm in. And I was like, Ben, as sincere as possible. I knew I'd heard a gobble. I knew it, but it was so hard to hear because it was windy. So this was a area we hadn't hunted in. It was just kind of where the truck was parked. We hopped the fence. We went in there. We had permission to be in there. And again, this was a huge, I don't even know how many acres. It was a huge, huge field. But it had little islands of trees throughout it. So we snuck up to the first island, and AJ kind of went out and looked down into the bottom of this field, and he was like, there they are, and they're feeding right towards us. Like, what? No way, this can't be. So we just do some soft yelp a little bit. We set up in this thing, and a few minutes later, you got 7 yards shot. They walked right up to us.
Oh, 7 yards easy.
We're hiding the island of this.
You guys actually stayed on we'll just call it on the south side of the island.
Yeah.
And I was on the north side.
The opposite side of the way they were coming from.
Right. And so they actually followed the edge of that island all the way out to the very end of it, which is where I was sitting. 7 yards. I mean, I watched this sucker blink at me.
He winked at you like you're ready?
Yeah, he winked, and I shot.
Yeah. And then I think you shot again.
Well, that's when I realized I missed.
Yeah.
Which, how do you miss? But yes.
Which when it's that close, your wad of BBs or pellets coming out of your gun is really tight. So a lot of misses do happen that close. But because you've already had one, you were so mad and you were so frustrated. When you shot that second time, we jumped up out of there like, what's going on? We run around, and all I see is these turkeys flying.
Yes, they were flying.
Turkeys fly.
They do fly.
They were flying. They were flying increasingly high and increasingly far away. And we were in one corner of the field, and they were flying towards the opposite diagonal corner. And it had to be 400 or 500 yards across this thing. And you're so mad. You put your gun down on the ground, and you're like, I'm out of ammo, I'm done. And then we were just watching these birds, had no idea if you'd hit one or not. And about 400 or 500 yards away, and at least that high in the air, this bird, like it hit a screen in the air, just stops and is backing out of the air.
It was,
and it's falling.
So weird.
And AJ and I look at each other and we say, run. So now here we are in our rubber boots and our camo.
So that's what you and AJ are doing. Okay?
Running.
What I'm doing is you said I set the gun down. That was my last shell. That was my last one that I had. And in my ignorance, I actually threw the gun.
Oh, okay.
So I did.
Like you said, there was a lot of things done wrong this day.
I was so mad. I had missed twice. Actually, I missed because I shot 4 times. Mm-hmm. So missed twice on the first turkey.
You said you threw it. You slammed it down.
Because I did. I shot, missed, and as it flew up, I shot again. And I was like, I'm not this bad. Like, what is going on? I was just so angry. And I didn't throw the gun down and beat it on the ground, but it was like a toss of like, I'm out, I'm done. So you guys start taking off.
Running. We're running as fast as we can.
And you're yelling like, get your gun. Gun. So now I was trying to find the gun on the ground. Okay, yep. So I'm looking around. You guys have taken off. And when I look up, this turkey was so high. I was looking up like, it looks like a turkey vulture up there. Yeah. Like, sucker was high. But it was like coming back down.
It was like backtracking out of the sky.
Yeah, and you guys, you're running after him. So,
and then I hear you yelling, I don't have any ammo. I'm out of ammo. So I'm digging in my pockets as I'm running. I turn around, I'm running backwards, and I'm throwing shotgun shells over my shoulder. This is not a mowed field.
No.
This is like knee to waist deep, and I'm throwing these things back at you while I'm running.
So that's when I'd had the shotgun by then. Uh-huh. I'm trying to catch up to you guys. I'm trying to pick. I think it was 2. I think you threw 2, and I found both. And I got both. And so I get one in, and I get up to about where you guys are at.
Yeah. And AJ and I, we don't have, our guns are in the truck. Only you have a gun because we're tagged out.
Yep.
Yeah.
And all I remember from this moment is that...
Hindsight, you should have taken one of our guns.
I should have borrowed yours. So all I remember, though, is you and AJ running in circles.
Yeah.
Like... literally on the ground, running in circles, chasing a turkey.
Yeah, by the time AJ and I had got down to where this bird was, it had hit the ground, and it was running up and down the fence line, trying to find a way to get through the fence. And luckily, it was so brushy. It was just a barbed wire fence, but it was so brushy, and turkeys have a hard time with fences for some reason. He couldn't find his way to get through, and he was running. Didn't seem to be injured, but obviously was injured. A BB or 2 had hit him somewhere, and he couldn't fly. Mm-hmm. So now you start having this, well, not only do we want to harvest this turkey, but now I feel bad because it's injured. We need to get this turkey. Well, eventually, we get him off of the fence, and it is like, I don't even know what to compare it to. This thing is running in circles between AJ and I, and we are trying to keep this thing in, and it would charge at us and hit us. And then I think I even kicked it one time because it was charging at me. And then finally jumped on the thing and was holding this bird down. And I said, Ben, I'm going to jump up. And are you ready to shoot? And you said, yeah, I'm ready to shoot. So I jumped up and let this bird go. Boom. You missed again.
Missed again.
Missed again. So I think jumped on the bird again, and then I used my knife to finish him off. Mm-hmm. So he was injured enough that we could get him and finish him off with my knife. And I think even afterwards, I grabbed your gun and said, let me shoot it, and I shot it, and I missed where I was shooting by like 10 inches or something like that.
Yeah, we were just calling it a foot above his head. Like when you shot, it was shooting like a foot high, 10 inches high. And I'd changed nothing. I'd done nothing different. I have no idea to this day why in the world my gun was shooting that high. I've even changed my choke since then and patterned it, and it's all shooting back to normal. But for that day, I have no idea. And I even used I used your ammunition, right? So something was wrong. But we harvested that turkey.
We did.
And that sucker flew.
3 turkeys that day, lots of stories. And then we still had a whole day left to go put the boat in the water.
We did.
And we had found a bunch of morels. My turkey bag was full of morels that we'd stumbled
Morel
across.
mushrooms. Mm-hmm.
We caught white bass, crappie, and some spotted bass. And that night we fried all of it. We
did.
fried turkey.
It was a feast.
We fried mushrooms, we fried fish, and we feasted, and we laughed, and we told stories with people that weren't there and shared good food. And that really was, that was a long time ago.
So long.
It was at least a decade ago or more. I don't even really know the year that happened, but great story to remember and to tell, and also very evident that a turkey, even shot, can fly well more than 100 yards.
Folks, turkeys can fly. That's why you want to shoot them the first time.
They can.
Take 'em down the first
I
time.
hope from all our nonsense that you got the bottom line that turkeys can fly. We do appreciate you listening to the Meant to Be Outdoors podcast. If you like what we're doing, we'd love for you to become a Patreon member and support us financially. We need all the help that we can get. Please like and subscribe. Hit the automatic download button on whatever platform you listen. We have TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. We would love for you to follow us on there. Between now and our next episode of the Meant to Be Outdoors podcast, we hope that you find time to get outdoors. Thank you for listening to the Meant to Be Outdoors podcast, hosted by Brian Hoffmeyer and Ben Brandell. Please help us by subscribing. Also, follow along on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook.